Okay, so today we have Mr. Chad Leonard to give us a presentation on Google. And Chad grew up in England and Germany before he eventually settled in the United States for over 35 years now. He has almost 40 years of experience in the business world, from startups to international corporation in variety of sales, marketing, leadership, and general management positions. For the past 28 years, he has been working as both an independent business consultant and coach and in corporate coaching roles with entrepreneurs and owners of small businesses, putting all his experience skills in the service of helping his clients. He helps his clients to grow their business and turn their dreams into reality. So without further ado, the floor is all yours. Thank
Wow,
you.
thank you, Rania. Appreciate that. I'm going to bring you everywhere with me where I go. You can walk into the room first, and you can say all that. That was amazing. Well done about my as an intro. Yes, great to be with everyone. As you read that out and you said more than 40 years, I thought, wow, that must mean I'm pretty old because I didn't start when I was 5. So, but I still remember very well when used to be the youngest guy in the room, and now I'm always the oldest guy in the room. I don't know how that happened. It happened in the blink of an eye, and yet here we are. So thank you, Rania, for the introduction, and great to see everyone here. Yeah, by all means, please do post any questions or comments as well, thoughts that you might have, any observations, any aha moments that come to mind as we go through this. Please post them in the chat. I want to hear it all and for us to share it all as we go. And the greatest learning comes from each other, not from the quote unquote expert. And I'm by no means the expert. We'll get to that in a minute, but from each other. So yeah, let's just turn this into a learning experience as well. The chapter education unit's good for you, and I hope to give you some chapter entertainment units as well, by making this a little bit fun and interactive, so to speak, as well, and hopefully maybe even cover some information that you hadn't bargained on getting within here, and I'll explain how and why that is as we go forward. So let me quickly now, hopefully we'll get the technology to work. I'm going to share my screen. So let's do this here. I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to do this. And so in a second here, you'll see, hopefully you'll see what looks like a blue sky. We're going to have a blue sky presentation today. And I can't see many of you now anymore, unfortunately, just because of how the screen pops up. So let's see if there's any other way to do that. No, there isn't. Okay, well, we'll just leave it like that. So let me get into my presentation, and hopefully you can now see the first slide, which says how to get the most out of your Google business profile. I'm seeing Ranya's nodding her head. Excellent news. And Chad Leonard, owner of Accelerate Profits Now Business Coaching Services. That's me. Now, some of this presentation I've repurposed because back during the pandemic, I did a presentation that was called this: What's really killing small businesses? Hint, it's not COVID, it's not Amazon, and it's not big box. So we're going to address that as well as we go through. So lots of different things we'll be covering, but of course, primarily we'll be focusing on the Google business profile, but in a number of ways that maybe you hadn't planned on. Oh, let me just turn on my laser pointer here so I can see what's going on. Okay, so let's move on. So I'm going to start with a pretty heavy existential question for a Tuesday morning, but who am I? But unlike Jean Valjean, there is no existentialism involved here. It's just a bit more about who I am and what I do. So Chad Leonard then and now. So this was a long time ago, this black and white, grainy black and white picture. This was me here at about age 5 in my hand puppet. This is my younger brother, Pav, doing his best Homer Simpson impersonation, before Homer Simpson even existed. This was my father. He was Indian. This was my mom. She was German. This was her dad, my opa, my grandfather, who was visiting us from Germany. And the reason I share this family photo is not what's happening here with the fam, but what's behind us. Because I grew up in our own family-run small business. We owned this shop, as we call it, a newsagent back in England. Over here, it'd be like a 7-Eleven, long before 7-Elevens existed. But we basically sold everything. You can see a selection of things here. There's magazines, newspapers, comics, sweets, toys, candies, ice cream, soda, you name it, we sold it. And we lived, grew up in London on a very busy main street in northwest London. My father ran the shop, and we lived above the shop, which is very typical in England, still is now. And so my mom was running the household. And when my brother and I were a little older than this, but not much older, 8, 9 years old, when we were home from school or on the weekends or on the holidays, we lived on this busy main road, so we couldn't just play outside for all the logical reasons why not. So my dad would let us help out in the stock room, which was right behind the shop. And so when the delivery boxes came in, we'd break them open, and he'd tell my brother and I, "Okay, boys, these cigarette cartons go on those racks, and these magazines go over here, and the toys go there, and so on, all that kind of good stuff." And meanwhile, while we're doing that and having a lot of fun in the stockroom, my dad, we would be out in the shop, and we had one of those old-fashioned bells above the door. When the door opened, the bell rang. And so every time the bell rang, we knew that a customer had walked in. And the very next thing I'd hear is my dad going, "Hello, Mr. Smith. How's the family? Hello, Mrs. Jones. How was the vacation? How'd your husband like Spain?" or whatever was going on. And I was a kid at the time. I just thought my dad was super friendly. And it wasn't until much later in my career that I realized that was my very first experience of the importance of good client relations and building those and maintaining them. And he did that very, very well. So I recently, within the last maybe 6 months or so, I Google mapped 31 Station Road, Harlesden, Northwest London, which is where we live. And here's what came up. So this right here, where this black car is, that's where this picture was taken. And to the right of the shop, which is now, by the way, I think a Portuguese restaurant, this green door is where we would go in and go upstairs. And this was our family room and dining room right here, one big room. This was my parents' bedroom up the top here, and my brother and I shared a bedroom in the back of a house. And so this is where we grew up. And so moving on then now. So as you said, I'm Chat Leonard. I'm a small business coach and consultant. I'm passionate about working with small businesses, ranging from startups up to about $10 million in annual revenue, helping them to, as I call it, accelerate profits now, which is also the name of my business. Not a very sexy or made up word, but I like to get to the bottom line figuratively and literally, and that's what it's all about for small business owners. And I wanted to present a very lovely, in my nice suit here. I may have been on my way to an interview or something, or a funeral, one or the other. I'm not sure what that was all about. But I'm actually also a real living and breathing human being. So just a little bit more about my background, my family. So this is our family snapshot. My wife and I, we have a blended family of 5 kids. And this is taken in Mexico a couple of years ago, and my stepdaughter brought her boyfriend, but he's no longer a boyfriend anymore. So we're going to have to X him out at some point. I'll Photoshop him out the photo, but for now, I'm just going to put an X through him. I'm hoping he's not on this webinar. And the most important member of our family is right here. This is our multi-poo, Chloe, who we love very dearly. And one other thing that you probably don't know about me and my wife is that we love to play tennis. More importantly, we love to win when we play tennis. We're both very competitive. And so this was a couple of years ago, we won our club's mixed doubles championship, closed division, mind you, not the open division. We're not good enough for the open, but in the closed division, we won our championship. All right, so that's enough about the fam and me. And now let's move on to our topic of how to get the most out of your business, Google Business Profile. A couple of ground rules or first principles that I'm going to share with you in the form of some quotes that will be very relevant going forward. The first one is this. Attributed to Euripides, a playwright from a Greek mythology almost. Along with success comes a reputation for wisdom. So how this whole venture here started was I was on an ICF webinar, gosh, it was middle of last year sometime. And Jennifer, who is on our call today, I happened to mention that I'd been playing around with my Google Business Profile, and then I'd actually got up to #1 in my local rankings. And Jennifer said, "Oh man, that's so great. I wish we could do a webinar about that." And then I think it was Nahid who then suggested it to me, and then that's how it all happened. So Jennifer, thank you for asking me to do that. But let me be very clear, because while I've had a little bit of success with my Google Business Profile, and I'll share how and what I've done there and how that can apply to you, I'm in no way wise or claiming to have wisdom in this area. So rather than you getting a session of SEO for dummies, you're actually getting a session of SEO by dummies. And whatever you get from it, hopefully you'll get some great value out of it as well. But by no means am I an expert in this field. So that's one quote I wanted to share. Another one, which I absolutely love, which has relevance for us all the time, but most definitely in the context of what we're discussing today, is by the late, great Zig Ziglar, who I absolutely love. Don't become a wandering generality, be a meaningful specific. Now, I can't remember the exact context in which Zig used this in one of his speeches, but it has great relevance for us even today in 2024 in our digital 24/7 wired age that we live in. And this is something that applies to everyone who's got their own business, every small business, every large business. Is too often we become a wandering generality. And so today we'll talk a little bit more about how to become specific in your own business and then how to get meaning from that and who that meaning should be for. And that's up for discussion as well as we go forward. And another quote, which I've been using this one for decades, literally, and I'd never known the origin of it, but here's the quote. First of all, form follows, in this case, form ever follows function, even more specific. And I never knew who had come up with that. And I Googled it recently, and it was apparently attributed to Louis Sullivan, who was an architect in the late 1800s. And he is said to be the father of the modern skyscraper. And I love skyscrapers. And so I've used this phrase, form follows function, so often, whether it's in a sales capacity, in a marketing capacity. Too often we want to focus on the form of what we're doing, and too little do we focus on the purpose of why we're doing it in the first place. And more often than not, that will then determine the form that it or we should take. So I've repurposed that for the purposes of our session today, but it has absolute relevance, again, in almost anything we do. And so here's what I came up with. The medium ever follows the message. So a lot of times, and I do a lot of work with small business clients, they want to get on to doing something. So we've talked earlier today in your expectations about websites, about LinkedIn profiles, about maybe Facebook profiles, about your Google business profile. And these are all different form of media. These are the way we transmit. But what is it we transmit is the message. And too little time is spent on really clarifying, distilling, and identifying the meaning of our specific message. So I wanted to try and find a really somber picture of me, just like Louis Sullivan's picture, but all I could find was this. Because, as I said, we're both very competitive. My wife's probably more competitive than me. And so when we win, I get a little peck on the cheek here. So why is the message so important and more important than the medium? For example, if you could spend all sorts of money, and somebody asked earlier about how much money should I spend on like SEO type work or redoing my website or whatever it may be. And again, those are all different forms of medium. You could get a 30-second spot on the Super Bowl this year for about $7 million if you wanted it as an advertisement, a commercial, excuse me. But that's the medium. But if your message is not on point, then whatever medium you use, it's going to be suboptimal. All right. Conversely, if your message is on point, it almost does not matter what medium you use. Heck, you could hire this guy, walk up and down Main Street in Irvine for a little while, and you'll probably get great results from whatever your messaging is on that sandwich board there. I'm not recommending that, by the way, but you could, because the message is more important. The medium always follows the message. So I want you to keep that in mind. And to really use that as a jumping off point to do as we go forward here in our presentation. I'm stealing this from Apple, to think different, not differently, but think different about your business. And most importantly, the perspective of your business. Too often we look at our business from the inside out. We look at it through the eyes of us, our company, our product, our service, whatever it is we have. And we look through that into the outside world. And what we're going to try and do is change that perspective by thinking different about everything. And then one last quote that I love, attributed to Confucius, is that we have two lives, and the second begins when we realize we only have one. So that's a great quote to begin with, but I've repurposed that a little bit. And again, because we're all here as members of the International Coaching Federation, because we're coaches. And so the second version of that is this: each of us must pursue two professions. The second one is the providing of our coaching services. But to be successful in our second profession, we must also embrace the first profession, which is the marketing and selling of the providing of our coaching services. And this is often where we get a little stuck. And Rania and I were talking earlier about how she's got a full-time business now. She does, but the marketing and the selling of it can sometimes be the hard part. I see her nodding her head there. Yeah, because that isn't about the providing of the coaching services, but the marketing and the selling of those coaching services. And so that's going to be a big part of what we discuss today. part of it is going to obviously relate to the Google Business Profile, but that, like I said, is a medium, and we want to really make sure that our messaging is on point. So before we get on to what does work, I want to just quickly go back and look at what used to work. All right, and there's a phrase that's been around in the marketing world for literally probably 30 years now. As long as I've been kind of aware of it, it's been that long, which is this: you must identify your USP. And some of you may have heard this attributed to yourselves as well, as you've worked with maybe digital marketers or web designers or whatever it may be, graphic designers. So let's be clear on what USP is. It's your unique selling proposition. And you might be wondering right now, well, wait a minute, chat, if it's been around for 30 years, what's wrong with the USP? I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So how come we're having this conversation? Well, it's because of this. What's wrong with the USP is that it focuses again on that middle word, the selling or the seller. Okay. Again, this is us looking at the world through our own product or service business as the seller. And by doing that, we end up with what I call the result being what I call vanilla platitudes. Now, what the heck is a vanilla platitude? Vanilla, it's plain, it's blah, it's vanilla. And a platitude is a word or a phrase that's been so overused that it's really lost its true meaning. And so I'm going to give you some examples of this in a minute. And once I give you these examples, it'll be like you'll never be able to unsee it. I apologize, but I think it's important to realize this because you'll see it maybe in your own work, but you'll see it in anybody else's marketing, whatever it is. It might be their website, it might be their business card, it might be a brochure leave behind that they've made, their Google Business Profile, wherever it is, you'll see these vanilla platitudes. And I want to give you some examples of those. But once you see those, it'll be like, I don't know if you've ever really paid close attention to when you get a FedEx package in the mail or when you see the FedEx truck drivers driving by, which happens all the time, it seems here. But here it is. This is the FedEx truck. And you may already know this, in which case I apologize. But if not, this is kind of cool. There's within the truck logo here, there's a subliminal message that's buried in it. And it's right here in the white space between the E and the X of FedEx, which is there's an arrow pointing, which speaks to the speed with which FedEx wants to deliver your packages to you. And you may already all know about this, in which case I apologize, but I love showing this because I have this same experience. Every time I see a FedEx truck drive by, I think about that the white arrow right here within the logo. And now that you've seen that, you'll never be able to unsee it. And therefore, you'll always think about it every time you see a FedEx truck get a FedEx package. And in the same way, some of what I'm going to show you now, you'll never be able to unsee when you look at anyone's kind of web presence or any marketing that they do. So what I did was I went through this magazine, and it's called, oops, did I jump over a slide here very quickly? Hang on. I might have jumped a slide. Give me 1 second here. Let me go back to this slide right here. Okay, so this is the home mag. I've got the March edition right here. Right here's the March edition. This is the January edition. You may get this as well. It's America's #1 home improvement magazine, as it calls itself. And it's full of home improvement providers, service providers. It could be kitchen remodelers, window treatments, flooring, roofing businesses, turf laying businesses, hardscape businesses, landscape businesses, you name it, they advertise in this magazine. And so what I did is I went through this magazine to see if I could spot the vanilla platitudes. All right. And so here's what I found in my extensive research. So satisfaction guaranteed. Free estimate, call today. Our blanks are the best. Outdoors, windows, carpet, whatever it may be, are the best. Professional installation. And we use only the finest, whatever it is that they're providing. Ingredients, workmanship, materials, doesn't matter. We use only the finest. And you might say, well, geez, chap, what's wrong with saying satisfaction guaranteed? Isn't that a good thing to say? I offer a free estimate. What's wrong with saying that? Well, the problem isn't that you're saying it. Like I said, the problem is that who isn't saying that? Who says satisfaction? Well, yeah, sometimes we guarantee. It's a little hit and miss, but yeah, we try our best. In that case, if you say satisfaction guaranteed, then that would stand apart. All right. You still have to figure out what that guarantee is, but that's a whole nother conversation. If everybody else was charging for an estimate and you offered a free estimate, then yeah, you'd be standing out and that'd be of great interest to people. But the question is, who isn't saying these things? And the way you can spot a platitude is if you can follow it with these 4 words. And if you can, then you know it's a platitude. Here they are. Well, I would hope so. Whatever you say about your business, whatever anyone else says about their business, if you can follow it up by saying, well, I would hope so. So look at all of these. Satisfaction, I would hope so. Professional installation, well, I hope you're not pulling some guy just off the street corner and having him come and install my whatever it is I'm having installed. I would hope so. So that's how you can spot a platitude. And I want to give you some examples of these right from this magazine. So I cut these out. Now these are 4-color full page and half page ads. These are not cheap. These are thousands of dollars a month to run these ads. Okay. But now we can play the game of spot the platitude. Okay. So right here we go. This guy over here is offering us the dream kitchen. Well, I would hope so. I hope you're not offering me a nightmare kitchen like these other clowns over here are. This guy over here is telling me he's going to use premium cabinets. Well, again, I would hope so. I hope you're not using some sort of makeshift half-baked cabinets. This guy, of course, is offering a free estimate. This service provider down here goes a step further, offers a free design consultation. Well, that sounds good, doesn't it? That's an upgrade of some sort. This guy goes even a step further, free in-home consultation. That's lovely. So not only do they have, you have to call, so they got your phone number, they got your name. Now they know where you live. Now you got some random stranger coming to your house. So, when you look at these three, OMG, they're saying they're family owned and operated. Okay, so is the mafia, but I don't know if that's a real statement of credibility that I'd be making there. But you get the point that when you look at these three, how on earth are you supposed to pick one from the other? They all just kind of merge and blend into each other. This guy realized that clearly and had a great idea and said, I know, if none of this works, I'll just offer $1,000 off. I'll bribe them to come and buy from me. That's a great idea. He said, oh, wait a minute. This guy down here had the same exact idea. So even the bribe has become its own platitude. All right. So I'm not big on discounts, by the way. Definitely not for small business owners, but there's a place and a time for them if used very intentionally and strategically, but most people don't use them. And I'll give you an example later. But very, very much filled with platitudes. All right. Now, this guy down here, I got to give him credit because in the January edition, they doubled down. He went big. He didn't go home. He went big. He got a full page 4-color ad. So a lot of credit to him, except I don't know what graphic designer put this together for him, but I mean, clearly they're getting paid by the word, not by the image, because look at all this fine print down here. Look at this. He says, we are open for business. Well, I would friggin' hope so. Otherwise, what the heck are you doing? You see how just random platitudes, but hey, man, he's willing to spend a bit more money in the hope that this is going to work for him. And then one more I pulled out of this magazine. Now, this is the opposite of a picture being worth 1,000 words. This is what's 1,000 words worth? Very little, I would say. But look at this one right here. Forget the thing of the star. They don't actually. Doesn't this picture just by this little fella down here with a big smile on his face operating this slide, doesn't it tell you everything you need to know about what they offer? I love this one. I love this because the picture is worth 1,000 words over here. So again, just some examples of platitudes, and therefore coming back to that original question about what's really killing small businesses. Hint, it's not COVID, Amazon, or big box. Here's what's really killing all small businesses. By looking and sounding the same as every other small business, you force your prospect to differentiate on one area and one area only. And that one area is price. Price. Because if you look and sound the same as everybody else, why would anyone pay more for you? Because let's face it, guys, whoever wants to pay more for generic? You don't, right? You go to the store. If you buy a store brand item, you don't expect to pay the same as a branded item, right? You expect to pay a little less, of course, because it's generic. And if we look generic in anything that we do and say about our business and our services, then yeah, we're generic and we're forced to compete on price. So instead of focusing on the unique selling proposition, I want to bring out a new term for you. It's this one. We must uncover your unbeatable value proposition. All right, value is the key word here. And whether we like it or not, value is not determined by us, the sellers of our services. It's determined by the buyers of our service. They determine who has value and who doesn't. And it's not about price as much anymore. It's about value. And this is when I said earlier about think different about our perspective of ourselves and our business. We're going to have to do a 180-degree turnaround, guys, to not look at ourselves from the inside out, through the eyes of our business, our product, and our service, but from the outside in, through the eyes of our prospective buyers. And how do they view us? And how do they view our product or service and our pricing? All right. And that gives us a whole different perspective. I'm going to give you some examples of this in a minute. But if we can uncover your unbeatable value proposition, then we can establish what I call your market dominating position. Now, what the heck is a market dominating position? It doesn't mean you're the biggest or the best, because we're all small business owners here. So we can't expect to be the biggest or the best necessarily. But what we can do is we can decide very strategically what postage stamp size of our business do we want to focus on. And we can make sure that we can be the best and do the best in that area and dominate our marketplace there. Let me give you an example of a market dominating position. This building here, I think we can agree, dominates the skyline in which it exists. This is the Freedom Tower in Manhattan, of course, built on the former site of the Twin Towers. This is still the sixth largest building in the Western Hemisphere. It took about 6 years to construct. And my wife and I, in 2009, we visited New York, and I was really excited. I'd seen artist renderings. I love skyscrapers. I'd seen artist renderings of this. And in 2009, 8 years after 9/11, I was excited. We were going to New York, and I was excited to see how far along they'd gotten with this project, right? Because I love to see that. Well, here's what we saw when we got to New York. There was this big old ugly hole in the ground. And I was extremely disappointed by this, because I'd seen these artist renderings and so on and so forth. And you can see here are the two green dome buildings here that you can see here in the front. So it's a different perspective, obviously, kind of from the other side of this picture over here somewhere, I guess. But this is what we saw when we got there. So what does this have to do with us? Well, if you're going to erect anything, I don't care how big or how magnificent the building is that you want to construct, or the business that you want to build, we want to make sure that the foundation is big enough, deep enough, and strong enough for you to build your business on top of that. And when we talk about your unbeatable value proposition, this is like the foundation for your business. And everything we build on top of that, the stronger that foundation is, the more you've got your unbeatable value proposition figured out, the better and the stronger your building that you put on top of it will be in terms of your business. Now, a lot of times with small business owners, they want to get into action mode. They want to get something done. They want to do something. Yeah, that sounds great, chap, but when can we change the website? When can we do some ads? When can we do some marketing of some sort? They want to get again into that tactical mode of the medium before they've really figured out their messaging. And if you did that in your business, it would be similar to trying to construct anything on a shaky foundation that's made of sand. Your building could end up looking like this, and sometimes your business can look a little bit wonky too. All right, so that's some of the problems that we're faced with and challenges we have. What are the opportunities? So here we go. So here's the key to successful marketing in 2024 and beyond. Is you've got to be able to get into the conversation that's taking place in the head of every one of your prospects. All right, wonderful. So we got to be mind readers on top of everything else now. I'm not saying that, because the conversation revolves around two major points. There's a problem that they have and they don't want, and there's a result they want, but they don't yet have. Okay, so this idea of problems and results, it's been around for a long time. Gosh, I remember Tom Hopkins, who used to do a lot of real estate webinars, not webinars back in the day, they were seminars, I guess, and tape versions of seminars back in the day, back in the 80s, mid-80s, late 80s. He would talk about, we are all PPSs. Right? PPS, a professional problem solver. He talked about it back then. But these days, because of the proliferation of marketing opportunities, we're bombarded with them day and night, right? You can't watch a YouTube video without it being interrupted by ads for something or other. More important now that we turn the conversation around, stop talking about ourselves and talk more about in terms of what's important to our prospective clients. And it's what's the problem they have that they don't want, and can we address that? And then secondly, of course, then once we've got their attention, we can now address the result they want, but they don't yet have. It's almost like an algebraic equation, right? Solve X for Y. But if we can solve this, then you've created value for your client and thereby established a market dominating position for your business. All right, let me start with in terms of how do we do this, with a very simple example of turning the perspective around. So I'm going to show you something here. And all right, here we go. So if I ask you, which of these has the greater value? Now, this isn't a trick question. It is not a trick question. These aren't fake currencies. This is not monopoly money or anything like that. These are just our US currency denominations here, guaranteed by the Federal Reserve to have their value, right? The quarter has a value of 25 pennies. The dollar bill in terms of quarters has a value of 4 times as much. The $20 bill in terms of pennies has a value of what, 2,000 times as much. And in terms of quarters, a value of 80 times as much. All right, that's non-negotiable. That's literally written in stone pretty much. All right, but that's us looking at our product or service, or in this case, our currency, through the eyes of the seller. And like I said, we want to turn this around now and look at it more from the point of view of a prospective buyer in terms of the problems they have, they don't want, and the results they want, they don't have. So let me extend this little example a little bit further. It's a made-up example. So let's have a look at this guy over here. Now, if we look at the problems that he's got that he doesn't want, well, there's a lot going on here. First of all, he's got the problem of the way too skinny faded jeans and the wife beater. But we'll say that's a wardrobe malfunction. We'll kind of park that to one side and look at his bigger problems. Clearly, by what's going on here, he's got something significant happening with his car to a point where he's already put out the warning triangle over here. Yeah. So we know that there's a lot going on for this poor guy over here. On top of that, there's some more information that you don't have. It's this poor fellow's anniversary today. He promised his wife he'd be home on time because she's cooking up a lovely home-cooked meal. She's got the candles. She's going to have the soft lighting and the beautiful music. Very romantic celebration of their wedding vows being renewed and so on. But it's getting late in the day. This is a very deserted stretch of highway. And so he's in bad shape here. Oh, one other piece of information you didn't know. He's often late. That's why he promised her he'd be home on time. Oh, and his cell phone's died. All right, so one other piece of information in this made-up example is something just out of shot here, camera shot on left, is that right there, miraculously, is one of these fellas. Now, you guys may not know what this is anymore. You're all too young, but this is a payphone. I got this picture. It's called the last working payphone in New York City. So this is a payphone that's just out of view of him around the corner here, but this payphone does not accept collect calls. Okay, so now looking at the problems he's got he doesn't want and the result he wants he doesn't have, if I asked you now, which has the greater value, obviously we're all muted right now, but I'll answer it for you. Now all of a sudden, the denomination that has the greatest value is the good old quarter. As soon as we looked at just 30 seconds ago, no, this one, the $20 bill has the most value. We know that it's guaranteed by the Federal Reserve. That's because we're looking from the inside out. But as soon as we turn it around, look from the outside in, and we look at the problems that that particular prospective client of our denominations had that he didn't want, and the result that he wanted that he didn't yet have, all of a sudden it's changed everything here. All right. So I want to give you a few examples, different ways in which we can uncover value through a couple of case studies from my own business, actually, and then we'll move on from that. Again, in terms of this is how we get our messaging straight, guys. So first example, this is a fundraising platform that I worked with for nonprofits in Buffalo, New York. He does like sweepstake programs and lottery programs. He's licensed to do them in all 50 states, and that's how he was planning on building his business. I asked him, what's your goal for your business? He said, there are a couple of well-entrenched national competitors, and I want to be able to compete with them. So very bold statement of intent for a startup business, basically, that you want to compete with national fundraising platforms in the nonprofit space. And so again, I said to him, what about, well, first of all, let's look at a problem that I have with donating money to charities. And I said, look, when you drop your $20 bill in the Red Cross bucket around Christmas time when they ring the little bell, you have no idea where in the world your money goes, right? It could go anywhere because the Red Cross is universal. So I said to him, what about if we try and narrow the scope of your business? He's in Buffalo, is where he's located. Sports crazy town, as some of you may know. And I said, what about if we make the action of your business and the way we talk about your business to make the focus to keep it local. Now, this was in 2021. So this is still, the back end of the pandemic when the Small Business Administration was putting a big push on keep it local, keep your money local. So don't buy from Amazon where $1 out of every 100 stays in the local economy. Buy from a local small business, where about $60 of the 100 stay in the local economy and kind of circulate around. So this is one of their, keep it local was their slogan, but I repurposed it here for the purposes of my client. To say, then what about if we work with local businesses who support local charities? We'll raise funds through local donors through these sweepstake programs. And then the prizes that these sweepstake participants can win, they'll be going to local winners. So we'll keep everything in the local Buffalo community. So he went, that's how he promoted his business, and got some traction from a local radio station who did an interview with him. And the result was that a local owner of a sporting goods business heard that news interview and contacted my client. One of his businesses that he or sportsmen that he supports is Andre Reed, who some of you may know is a Hall of Fame wide receiver from the great Buffalo Bills team of the 90s, when they went to 4 Super Bowls in a row. Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, Biscuit, can't remember his name now, Bennett. They were all in that team, and so was Andre Reed. So Andre Reed had a local Buffalo Children's Foundation that he was looking to raise funds for. And so my client got that contract through that local business owner calling him and saying, hey, are you local? You can help me. I've got a local superstar, Andre Reed, who wants to raise funds for his foundation. And so they did that. It was a very successful project. So he kept his focus local and got a great contract out of that. And it was a very successful campaign. The next piece of this, the prologue to this, is that Andre Reed's wife owns a PR firm in LA. And so my client contacted her afterwards, and he met her, of course, because they were part of the prize was that Andre and his wife would take the winning ticket owner out to Buffalo Bills game and take him to the private box and everything else. So my client was involved in all of that, of course, putting all of this together. So he met Andre and his wife, and he communicated with Andre's wife and asked her, hey, look, if ever you have any of your clients who work with charities, I'd love to be involved with them and help them raise funds for their charity. It turns out that she connected him with one of her clients who ran a TV show out of San Diego, and they were partnering with a nationwide charity that was working on reducing bullying in middle schools. And so my client went from doing a local fundraising project in Buffalo to the next thing he did, he was raffling off a Tesla along with other prizes for a national campaign. So we went from keeping it local to getting national very quickly. But it started with that local focus. Again, that was his market dominating position that he established for himself, providing value for this local business owner. All right, another quick example. I have a client who's a massage therapist. His business is up in Torrance, and he had been running adverts in the Palos Verdes Lifestyle magazine, this magazine right here. And this was in December of 2022, I think it was. And he'd been running an ad in their magazine, and the publisher connected with him in December because his annual subscription was up in February. And so the publisher connected with him and said, hey, look, if you'll renew your subscription for another year, we'll run you a full color half-page ad in our February edition. All right. And so my client in December called me and said, hey, what do you think? Is this a good idea? Is this good? Am I going to get a good ROI on continuing the ads? And I asked him, well, how much business have you gotten from this ad for the last year that you've been paying money to run the ad in their magazine? And he said, well, none really. I haven't got any paying clients from it. I said, well, so why are you doing this? He said, well, this is a very upscale neighborhood and I want everyone to know I'm there. So I feel like I'm getting some great exposure. Well, okay. But exposure without any business at the end of it, that's like a moral victory. And as small business owners, guys, we do not have time for moral victories, right? We need real wins as measured in real business. So here's what the publisher wanted him to run. All right, if you want the definition of a vanilla platitude for a massage business, this is pretty much it, right? Without even showing you this, you could picture what a massage business looks like. This is the ad that they wanted to run. They had a cute little Valentine's heart here, give the gift of healing and recovery this Valentine's Day. So when he showed me this, and we were on a Zoom call, I took my scratch pad and I said, no, let's try and narrow the scope a little bit because you can't be all things to all people. So what about if we think about who are the people reading this magazine in Palos Verdes and Rolling Hills, the other area where this magazine is published, these are all very affluent people for the most part, probably a lot of business owners, CEOs, presidents, senior vice presidents, people like that. And what do they all have in common? Well, they all have employees. And on Valentine's Day, even employers want to show their employees a little bit of love. And so what about if we find a picture, and I literally started sketching it out for him here. What do I find a picture of a guy scratching his head? And we have a thought bubble that says, how do I show my employees I care without breaking the bank? My client, in addition to having an office in Torrance where he provides the services, similar to what you see here in this picture, he wanted to get more into corporate work because he also does chair massages, which you see at all the airports now. It's very popular in all the departure lounges and arrival lounges. And so that was one way that he could break into the corporate world, is by doing these chair massages. So he he says, let's try this. So I said, great. What about if we try and target the ad to these business owners? So I sketched it all out for him. Now, I wish I'd kept the sketch, because after I finished it was useless. I threw it away but I took a picture and texted it to him. I say, gave that to the publisher and say, that's the ad. Have them pretty it up and say, that's the ad you want to run. It went very well. I'll tell you how in a minute. But I was kicking myself for not keeping that piece of paper. So I just thrown it out. It was nothing of great value until I remembered that I took a picture of it and texted it to him. So I found it in my phone. This is what I texted to him, guys. This is clearly, I'm not an art major, okay, so I apologize, but this is my idea up here, top left of a guy scratching his head. This was the thought bubble. How do I show my employees I care without breaking the bank? This is my visual of a chair massage. And then I thought we'll put some nice, more, some good language here. Again, thinking about what's the problem they've got that they don't want, and what's the result they want that they don't have. The publisher was not happy about this. They wanted to run their ad because they'd already created it, but it was just so generic, we didn't do it. So they came up with this. Here it is. Oops, went one too far there. Right here. They literally found a picture of a guy scratching his head. I mean, this could have been used for a dandruff commercial as well, I guess, but because it's got this, how do I show my employees I care about them without breaking the budget? They didn't like the word bank, so they put breaking the budget. But they found a picture of a chair massage. So again, now up top, they put wellness perks approved. I like this. I don't like it up here. This isn't the problem they've got. We've got to get their attention first by addressing the problem they have. This should have come down here somewhere, but we're up against the deadline. So I said, fine, run it. This ran in February edition, middle of March. I'm on a call with my client, and he says, you won't believe what happened. I said, what happened? He said, I got a call on that ad. Somebody called me about it. I was like, tell me. Business owner who lives in Palos Verdes saw the ad. He owns a business very large business in Torrance. And he asked his assistant to call my client and find out what it was all about. They talked, and I helped him put a proposal together. They accepted it. He came in and did a day's worth of chair massages for this client. They loved it. They had him come back 3 more times in the month of March. It quadrupled his monthly earnings in the month of March. In April, they liked they loved all of this. So the employees at that firm, they kind of did a little a collection, and it was the boss's birthday in April, and so they got a mobile massage service, which my client also does for the owner and his wife in their home. And then in May, that lady who first called him in March, she booked a Mother's Day massage with my client as well. We then had this very successful model case study that we then created like a flyer about, basically an online PDF, I guess, which he was then able to circulate to other businesses in the Torrance area. And it's led now to additional business. He's done work for Sketches. He's done work for law firms in the Torrance area, all from this one crazy, stupid, artistically challenged idea. Where'd it go? Right here, this one. But hey, it worked. One other one I wanted to share was I had a commercial insurance agent who I came up with an idea for him. He does all the usual liability insurance, commercial insurance, and everything else, but he also does workers' compensation insurance. And for any business that has employees, workers' comp is extremely expensive. It's like you don't know what you're paying for, you don't know what you're getting. And so it was one of the things in his business where he said, yeah, a lot of the business owners I talk to, they have no clue why they're paying this much. And if I can help them get a lower rate, but still get the right coverage, that'd be of great value to him. Now, I shared earlier versions of this piece of the presentation with him. And I said, so is that the problem? Is that when I asked him, what is the problem? He said, that's the problem they have. So I went online. I was looking for an image of a picture of a guy having a nightmare. And so this is what I found. All right. So here, this is a stock photo, as you can see, from Dreams Time. I didn't want to buy it, but I presented this to him and said, what about this? What if we say, as a business owner, does your workers' comp insurance keep you up at night, afraid you're undercovered or overpaying? As an XYZ insurance client, you'll sleep well knowing we'll find you the right coverage at the best rates. 99 sleep tight. Now, my massage therapist, when I first showed him that, he was very skeptical about it. It was so different from anything he'd seen because he'd always looked at the world from the inside out. And so when my commercial insurance agent saw this, he also was very skeptical. And in the end, he was like, I don't know, Chad, that's a little too far out there. So he never used it. But I loved it. I thought it was great. And so when I started to do my work on my Google business profile, I looked for this exact image and it was no longer available. But what I did was I'm big on recycling, as I'm sure we all are. So I recycled and repurposed this idea for myself. And so as an update on my Google business profile, I have this. I found a different picture of a guy wide awake at 3:25 in the morning. And this is, as a small business owner, do any of these questions keep you awake at night? Are you struggling to get your business to the next level? Are you working harder than ever? But rising costs mean you're making less profit than ever, et cetera, et cetera. So I repurposed what I'd done for him for myself. And I've gotten a lot of feedback from people who've contacted me saying, it's like you were talking to me in that, you know? And so now we're transitioning out of that messaging into the actual Google business profile. Because now that we've established it's not about the Google business profile, it's about what you say and how you say in your Google business profile. That's why I wanted to share this. So when I first started messing around with my Google business profile, I was, and I Google searched business coaches in Irvine, California. I came up number 20. All right. So I was at the very, very bottom of kind of the first page. Everybody else was ahead of me. And then I started messing around with that Google business profile, doing different things. I got some friends who are in the search engine optimization, the SEO world, and I asked them for some ideas, and I attended some webinars and seminars and whatnot. And so I started to mess around with this myself. I didn't pay anyone to do it. I just tried to implement some of those ideas. And then it must have been around June of last year, right before we had that ICF webinar. This is when I Google search business coaches in Irvine, California. There I am, I pop up number one. And I was at number one all the way up till last flipping week when I just randomly getting ready for this. I Google searched this again. And I was like, I wasn't at number one anymore. I was at number two. I couldn't believe it. So, hey, these things happen because this is an ongoing kind of a dynamic, living, breathing organism that you have to tend to all the time. And I'd gotten super busy in my business, and I honestly hadn't tended to it for a little while. I'd stayed at number one for ages. I mean, like, my gosh, 9 months, but not. So now, like I said, I'm competitive too, and so now I'm trying to get back to number one. So what I want to share with you about the Google Business Profile, here are basically some things we're going to talk about here in a second. Google search by the numbers, because the numbers are important to show you. But again, we can learn from these numbers in how we present ourselves. We'll talk about keywords, services, photos, reviews, update section, and Q&A section. All of these are in a Google Business Profile. I'm not going to go into how to set up a Google Business Profile. You can go on a YouTube video. It's pretty simple. If I can do it, anyone can do it, believe me. But like I said, this is SEO by dummies, not for dummies, but by dummies. But I want to look at these things. And again, this is now all about the media that we're talking about, because I prefaced it all with how we get the message right in the first place. All right, so let's look at Google search by the numbers. So here they are. So 97% of online, so I'm also looking, I've got my camera on my laptop, but I've also got my big monitor here, but there we go. You can see this, right? So 97% of online users search for local businesses on the internet. Okay. 92% of all search engine activity uses Google. And Google accounts for 95% of the US mobile search market. All right. So and now in a close second is Yahoo with 1.6%, and then Bing hot on their tails at 1.3%, but 95% of it comes through Google. 94% of businesses with a GBP as a Google business profile are more likely to be viewed as reputable. 84% of consumers trust online reviews as much as personal recommendations. Okay. This next one is important. 63% of Google's US organic search traffic originates from mobile devices. The reason that's important is not because it's 63%, but because the most recent stat I could find with this was from 2019. That was 5 years ago. We were on iPhone 10, I think, at the time. So we're now on iPhone 15. So imagine if it was 63% back then, has this number gone down? I don't think so. It's probably exploded even higher than 63%. And less than 1% of people click on the second page of Google search results. All right. So this is the marketplace that we're in. So what we can learn from this is the importance of having a Google profile, of making sure it works mobile. And funnily enough, mine, because yesterday I Google searched on my phone for me, and here's what came up there. Let's see, where is it? Right here. So this is the internet search on my laptop, but then when I did it on my phone, I came up number one. I don't know. Like I said, it's a living, breathing thing. You move around all the time, but what I want to do now is to dive into my profile and show you where I do all this stuff in those different areas, and then you'll see it, and then you can do the same thing. All right. So I'm going to stop that share for a second and just take a moment. And I see everyone's still awake. That's good. I like that. So let me now share. Let me see here. I'm going to share. Oh, wait, I've got to just stop that. And now we'll go here. Okay, so now I'm going to go back here, screen two, and I'm going to just share. This is you'll see it in a second. It is just a regular screen here. Now I'm on a Mac, so I default to Safari, but I'm going to just go into Google right here. Okay, just click on google.com. Our regular Google search screen, as you can see it here. And the thing I focus on is on these, if you have a Google business profile already, but if you don't, you got to set that up first. But then when you click on the Google apps that are up here, the 9 buttons in the top of your Google search, here are all the different apps that are available, account your calendar and everything else. I'm going to focus on the Google Business Profile Manager right here. This is where you manage your Google Business Profile. So I'm going to click on this, and what will pop up here in a minute is my dashboard that we're going to do a bit of work in here in a second. Okay. So this is kind of behind the scenes for me as the owner of, it says right here, you manage this business profile. So you got to go through Google steps to get you verified that you are the business owner, that your address is the correct one, et cetera, et cetera. You got to do all that first. And then it shows up like this down here. All right. So a few things then that I want to point out. So let's say I just gone on as a user and I typed in, business. Oh, in fact, let's do that. Let's not talk about it. Let's do it. Let's go back here. All right, business coach is nearer of mine. Doesn't matter. All right, I'll pop up number 2 here. All right. So let's click on that. So this is now the view of my Google business profile as viewed on a laptop or a computer by someone who's just searching for my services, just like they'd be searching for your services. All right. This is what pops up. Starts with the overview right here. Then it's got services, reviews, updates, and we can click on any one of these. So here's my services, and we'll come back to all of this, of course. Here's my reviews, and you can go down all the way down here. I've got some updates here. Oh, here's this one. I redid this one just the other day because I found a typo in it, which really was bothering me because I don't like typos. So I updated it here, but I did exactly the same thing. But then I've got some others down here. I'm going to talk about this one in a minute, but we'll come back to that. Some photos here. Oh, there's my ICF membership right there. Excellent. So come back to this is if someone's looking at your Google business profile, this is what they would see as they would for me right here. All right. So that's kind of looking from the outside in, and now we're going to look from the inside out, go back to me. This is then my management page with my dashboard here. So let's go down this for a second. The very first thing to think about is your keywords. All right. Because people will search. So your keywords comes right back to your messaging. Okay, so if you're a coach, what kind of a coach are you? Remember that Zig Ziglar quote? Are you a wandering generality? Oh, I'm a coach. I'm a life coach. I'm a whatever, a health and wellness coach, whatever your coaching niche is, that's a good way for you to start to get a little bit more specific, to make sure that's how you get specific about what you do. The way you make it meaningful, though, is by looking at it through the point of view of your prospective clients in terms of, again, the problems they have they don't want, and the results they want that they don't have. All right, that's how you make it meaningful. Not for you. The Google Business Profile isn't for you. It's for your prospective clients. Okay, so we want to make sure that it's meaningful to them. And like I said, I got a random call from someone in upstate New York a couple of weeks ago about my Google Business Profile. Okay, now Google Business Search is a local search engine, right? That's what it's meant for. It's not meant for finding restaurants and other businesses in other parts of the country. It's for your local search. So I asked him, you're in upstate New York. Why are you Google searching me in Irvine? He said, well, I'm moving to Irvine next year, meaning this year now. It was in late 2023. And he wants to open up a non-emergency medical transportation business. Ironically, I have a client in Sacramento who wanted to open up an NEMT as well. So I said, look, it's a great business model. I'm not saying you're by yourself. All you got to do is Google search non-emergency medical transportation services. They're all over the place. But this as long as you can differentiate yourself in a way that's meaningful to your prospective clients, absolutely be a great idea. So that was a random one. And then I got one just 2 weeks ago from a guy who lives in Irvine who wants to open up a badminton center in Irvine. So cool. When I was in college, I collegiately played badminton. I love to play badminton again. So I said, I'm all in on this project. I gave him a proposal, and I'm still waiting to hear back. I've got to follow up with him once more to see where we stand. He was waiting to get permitting on getting it done from the city, which we know how that goes. Anyway, all right. So those keywords, and looky here, right here. Let's start with my business name. My actual business name is Accelerate Profits Now. I guess you could call profits a potential keyword, but more important was business coaching services. So Google lets you add that to your business name. All right. So you may have a random business name like, I don't know, Feel Good Coaching Services, something like that, or Feel Good Inc. Right? That's great, but does it contain any real keywords? Or you may have a made up name for your business. Okay. Sure, that's great. Whatever. It's all good. But again, from a keyword point of view, that's not a keyword that anyone's going to be searching for. So you need to make sure that you got some of your keywords. If you say, feel good life coaching services, healthy you, I'm making all this up, of course, in nutritional coaching services, something like that. You want to make sure that you get a little more specific first in your business name, and then also, of course, in your profile. All right, so let's now look at the profile. All right, so this is where you edit your profile. Here's the business name, business category. Now, these are assigned by Google. Ironically, Google does not have business coach as a category. Okay, they only have business management consultant. They have business coaching center. Oh no, coaching center. No. So I'm a little, but that's why I wanted coaching services in the title, and then I added some other, because if they're keywords, I might as well list them as secondary keywords. The description of my business is what I put in. And again, I basically, repurposed what I put on that update. Again, I begin with business coaching, consulting services, some reality check questions for SBOs. Everyone, SBO is a small business owner. And again, are you working hard on it? These are, again, the problems they have, they don't want. And then further down, I address the results they want that they don't have. Opening date. This is really important because it shows it. If I go back here, it shows it. Where is it? It's in here somewhere. I know. Am I just blind to it because I've looked at it so often? It says 25 plus years in business. Here it is, right here, right at the top. 25 plus years in business. Now, in the corporate world, ageism might be alive and well, and age discrimination. But in a coaching realm, you can use your age to your advantage because of your experience. All right. So it's fine for me that it lists 25. I wish it did more than 25 plus years, but that's what it gave me. So that's what I put in. All right. So let me go back to behind the scenes. Contact information, of course, website. Yeah. Now I've been actually redoing my website. So I had been using, Google gave you free websites. They don't do it anymore. So I've got to change that. Social profiles. I've connected my LinkedIn profile to this. You may have, your Instagram, but I don't really do a lot of social stuff, honestly. But if you have an Instagram page, Facebook business page, connect those right here. Location. This is important because Google verifies this location. And then service area. This is also an important one. So it'll give you a million different options. You click, 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 and that's all well and good. But let me go back to the way it looks for the outside looking in. it shows right here. So it's Orange County and nearby areas, you know, and if I click a little further, it shows them all down here. All right. But I wanted to really make sure that it targeted Irvine, because that's great. Now I live up in Coto de Caza. There's a lot of business owners in Coto de Caza, but I wanted it to start in Irvine, and so that's why I put Irvine first in this one. Business hours. I mean, for us in our businesses, you know, we're always open for business, one could say, but I didn't want people to think I was working every single hour. So I put kind of regular business hours here. This other stuff, special hours, doesn't apply. I don't offer free breakfast with a coaching session, so I don't put any of that stuff in here, and so on. This other stuff down here didn't really apply. All right. But that's then where you would go in and make those specific changes to your profile, where you edit your profile. So all of that happens here in edit profile. Okay. Services. So this is now a different area. This is where it gets really fun, guys. I'm going to show you a little hack. So if you go into services, if I go into add more services, now I've got some services. Oh, I can't do it now, darn it. Let me go back. So I've got listed here what I want. If you go in, what Google offers you is some, like if you put life coach in there, it'll offer you different specific services that you click. You can click a dozen of these things. Okay, so let me show you an example of this. This is a commercial, and I'll show you why I'm showing a commercial landscaping service in San Diego. Is another one of my clients. But if we go, so here they all are. So this is when you Google search this is what comes up: Del Mar Landscapes. Remember what I said about keywords? Look, it's Del Mar Landscapes, Modern Yards Landscapes, Le Perve Landscapes, Le Perve Landscapes. I don't know, man. It's an interesting name for a business, but it's got landscape in the title. Comes up number 3. Who am I to argue with this man's digital marketing strategy? Landscape design, landscape company, landscaping, etc. Do you see a common theme showing up here? Now, I have a fairly new client who offers commercial landscaping services. He's part of he's a franchisee of Manage Mode. They're a franchisor. Their headquarters are in Seattle, Washington. Here's his Google business profile right here. All right. Anything you see missing in his business name, what we're missing is the very thing that he's providing, which is landscaping services. So he's missing a great. Now, again, this is a corporately provided Google business page, and he's done nothing with it because there's literally nothing here. There's a few random pictures which are all corporately. This picture, I looked this one up. St. Coco Coffee. This is in Mexico. Okay, so I don't know what that's got to do. His business is in San Diego, so that's really of no interest there. There are 0 reviews. Nothing. I mean, now look, here are all the services they offer. Okay. Oh, let me go back over here to the main guy, number 1. Let's go back to number 1 over here, Del Mar. Look what he's got here. Where are his services? Look how they're organized. You see what's happening here? They're all organized alphabetically. All right. Oops, what happened there? Get away. They're all organized alphabetically. Well, you may not want them organized by alpha. Okay. So what I did on mine was I went to add more services, and down here, add custom service. So I added all the custom services, and I just put the order I want them by putting a number in front of them. And then I don't know if Google realizes, but they organize them by number. So I have them kind of in the priority order that I want. Okay, so it's something to think about for now. If your services come up and you click on them and they're all good, then fine, great. But for me, I didn't want them alpha organized by alpha. I wanted them organized numerically. All right, so literally just 1 dot space coaching services, 2 dot space financial review and planning. All right, I love getting into the numbers, so that's here and so on. Okay, now you also have like here, for example, buying or selling a business. So I put again, look what I did here. Not sure what price to ask. And not sure what price your business will sell for, or not certain if the business you want to buy is worth the asking price. Again, problems that you have that you don't want. I've gotten all sorts of new business from this in terms of people looking to buy a business or people looking to sell a business. They don't want to go to a business broker yet. And so that's been great for me. All right. So that's ways you can edit your services right there. All right. So that's there. This next one, reviews. All right. First of all, like I showed you, my client doesn't yet have any reviews. How do you get a review? Well, it shows it right here. Ask for reviews. Okay. So you can click on this. Now you can just do it in the form of an email, a WhatsApp post, or a Facebook post. You can do it this way. I like to do it. I mean, I'm not a restaurant. I don't have hundreds and hundreds of clients. So what I do when I've got a client that I think would be great to have as a review, I'll kind of say to them, "Hey, Rafi, would you mind posting a review?" "Oh, no, Chad, I'd love to. That'd be great." So great. Well, I'll send you the link, and all you got to do is click on the link and post the review in there. And 5 stars would be nice too. And so then what I'll do is I'll copy, see, right here it says review link copied, and then I'll put it into a personalized email. "Dear Rafi, hey, thanks for agreeing to post a review. Here's the link to my Google business profile, and 5 stars would be lovely. Thank you so much. All the best, chat." So that way you can do it yourself, you can personalize it and so on. What I've done with a couple of clients is they've said, "Chad, I'd love to, but man, I'm just so busy." "Oh, okay, well, I'll just write the review for you. How about that?" And then you can take a look, and if you don't like it, you can do your own. Guess what happened? They just posted it word for word. So, I mean, I give them the option to write their own review, but if they're too busy, then I might even write it for them. So that's reviews. The other thing which a lot of businesses miss. So I've got 14 Google reviews. Here they are. But one of the things that I've done is to put a response from the owner. All of this shows Google that you're active on your Google business profile. You're adding to it. You're adding depth to it and color. So here we go. So here's some things here and so on. So I always write sometimes, my response is longer than what the client wrote. But that's okay, because it gives me an opportunity to really call out some of the services that I've provided for him and why it's been such a great fit for him. So on. Another thing you can do is you can give yourself a thumbs up, right? So look, this is now it's unliked because I was the one who liked it. So I give myself a thumbs up. Again, it's activity on your Google business profile. Give yourself a thumbs up for when you leave when your client leaves a review. Yeah. And then also put a response. That's really important, the responses. Okay. So that's what we do with reviews. Let me see what was next. Photos. Yeah, it's fairly straightforward. It's like any other profile where you add photos. However, add photos here. You can add a regular photo. You can add a logo as well if you like, and a cover photo. So for me, as you saw on my profile over here, this is my cover photo. So there you post it under cover photo, not under regular photo. Okay. So that's what you do with the photos. Q&A. So sometimes prospective clients who go on your Google business profile, they can leave you a question, ask a question. So this is me looking at this. Excuse me, let me go back here. I'm not even sure where that is on the profiles. It's down here somewhere. They can ask a question. What I did on mine was I asked my own question. So where is it? Down here somewhere. I don't spend a lot of time on this, as you can see. I asked my own question. So you can ask your own question. My question was this. Let me go to questions. How are my business coaching services different than other business coaches? And I left my own reply. It's okay. Someone might read that. And that'll give them some more information in how I'm different and how I'm going to resolve their problems in ways that others won't. Oh, wait a minute. I might as well like my own response as well. Why not? That's another form of activity. So we move on. That's questions. And then, like I said, for my client over here, we've got a lot of work to do on their profile because they basically got nothing. But then that's going to be one of the ways, because I went through 3 pages of commercial landscaping businesses, couldn't get to my client. So he's basically not on, it doesn't exist on Google profile, a Google business profile at all. All right. So was there anything else I want to share on that? No. And so just very quickly, I want to go back over here for one more second. Yeah, let me just share my screen one more time. And then we'll be just about finished. Okay, so just some takeaways from all of this. Don't become a wandering generality. Get specific and thereby add meaning to your prospects, okay? The medium ever follows the message. I know we spent most of the time on the message, not so much on the medium, but hopefully you understand why, because everything we talked about in the message applies to any form of communication. If you get up at a meeting, you're going to a networking meeting, and you got 20 seconds to talk about yourself, think about the message, not from your point of view, but from the prospective client's point of view. Competing on price is just really killing small businesses. Instead, figure out how to compete on value. What is your unbeatable value proposition? And you figure that out by focusing on the conversation taking place in the minds of your prospects, the problems they have, they don't want, the results they want, they don't have. And like I said, let's get beyond the unique selling. It still has a place. Unique selling proposition can still have a place, but let's move into the unbeatable value proposition as determined by your client, okay, or prospective client. And that's what I got. So that's all, folks. So I'm going to stop my, Rania, I'm going to stop my share now. I'm going to try and stop my share at least. There we go. Hopefully that stopped it. And there we go. And now,
questions.
Oh, geez, questions. All right, let's go through the questions. Okay, you're not having trouble with my mic. Sorry, Danny. Hopefully you heard it okay. But we're recording it anyway, so you should be fine. I never saw this. I don't know what. Linda, what was you wrote? I never saw this. What was that?
I think she means the FedEx one, the FedEx
Oh,
Arrow.
excellent. Well, great. A couple of people hadn't seen that before. Very good. Jennifer, you're here, and I meant to call you out earlier, Jennifer. I think you're the one who mentioned this about back in the day at that one seminar, at that one webinar we had. So great to have you here. I'll be focusing on a message, and that'll be of value before we stress about the meeting. Yeah, absolutely. I hope that makes sense. Ariane question now: is it really difficult to get a Google business profile without a storefront? My colleague has had no luck with virtual businesses. Google has become very strict. Yeah, it has. You're right. They're clamping down in all sorts of areas, even on email as well. I've emailed from clients that goes into spam. We've been clients of mine for 6 months or more, and I get all of a sudden their email drops in my spam for some reason. I have no clue what's going on there. I don't know how to regulate that in any way. I'm sorry. Yeah, you don't need to have a storefront. You would need to enter an address. You'd probably enter your home address then, and that would then be what they verify. I don't think they allow PO boxes, as I recall, so you can't use that either. That's one of the ways in which our industry, which doesn't always work from an office, it may often work from home. It's a little bit tougher there. Okay, let's have a look, Linda. I created my business on Google as a virtual business. Okay, good, great. All right. Are you using any of the attributes? The attributes are more, I think, for in-person businesses. You can put attributes in there about ADA accessible and gluten-free and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, you can put those in if you want, but they don't apply to my business, so I left them blank. What should I put as my address? Okay, work remotely. Hope that helps there. I prefer not to use my home address. I don't know what else Google will allow in that regard. Again, we're not their target audience for their Google business profile, clearly. Presentation slides. Well, you'll get the presentation in the replay. So no, I don't have this as available as slides. And Laurie Banks, oh, thank you, Laurie. Well, there you go. How do you change it if you also have non-local global clients? Global, wow. Laurie's going for global domination. I mean, I have clients all over the country. And so this is just one avenue that I pursue. Like I said, I've gotten some out-of-state interest through because they were looking specifically in our southern Orange County area. But most else that I've gotten directly from people who found my profile was, Orange County area, basically. Oh, one other thing I added in my profile, which you're allowed to do, that is I added my Calendly link so that people can book appointments directly in there. I mean, my phone number's on there, email address, and all that good stuff as well. But I added my Calendly link, and I love it when out of the blue a Calendly link pops up in my notifications. I love that, and then you get to talk to someone new about their business or their potential business wherever they are within that. So I think we got through all the questions. Anybody else have any specific questions or comments, aha moments? Yeah, Linda.
So my question is, I just set up my business Google and it was painful to put it together because of all the analytics, and I got some help on that. And is it okay to use, like I was going to put basically a PowerPoint slide or just one at a time that promotes different parts of my business? That was another idea I had. So instead of photos all over, it'd be a promotional.
Yeah, you can, in the updates area, you can, when you click on a new update, it'll ask you to drag or take something out of your file, and you can use it there, and then you can also put a description. So that picture that I put of the guy wide awake at 3:25 a.m. I mean, I purchased that one, by the way. Just let's be clear, I didn't steal it from anybody. I purchased that from Dreamtime, and so that I own that picture. So I just had it in my files, and I uploaded the picture, and then I wrote the description underneath it. So
Okay.
they also have offers there. I didn't show that. So for example, I have a restaurant client, a Mexican restaurant client in New York. So I tell him, look, your table-made guacamole and your steaks are your two main your go-to items. They're the signature dishes. Promote the heck out of them in those update areas. So that's a great way to show activity from your side. And then if it's an update for a restaurant, those are the ones their potential client is more likely to click on.
Yeah.
Rafi, yeah.
Well, Jennifer was first, so perhaps.
Oh, where's Jennifer? I don't see her.
Go ahead,
Where'd she go?
Jennifer.
Where'd she go? I don't see her. Oh, I know why.
She has her hand raised.
So
Sorry.
thank you.
There you go. Now I see you.
Thank you, Chad. This is amazing. It's really helpful to kind of rethink how to maximize our Google business profile, because I think we all think we should set it up as focusing on the medium, but how to really maximize it. So 2 questions. One, are you saying that to keep your company at the top, we have to actively engage with the profile in order to get to stay up at the top? And then second question is, do we need to do Google pay for Google Ads to also get ranked higher in the search?
Really, really good questions. Darn it. I'm not going to share my screen again, but often whatever you're searching, what you see first are what are called sponsored results. Okay. Those will be the first things that show up. Those are the people who've paid to have an ad put in there. All right. Most people understand that now, and it doesn't call it paid. It says sponsored. Google's very clever in that. It's less offensive than, hey, they bought an ad and therefore we put them ahead of you. So no, I haven't used any Google ads at all. I mean, I could. I mean, I might still do that, of course, but I've chosen not to. I mean, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but I will for a second, because a lot of digital marketing people want to just scare the hell out of you and say, oh, you've got to pay $200, $300, $500 a month for SEO services. All right. Number one, and I should have used that as another slide, past performance is no guarantee of future results. And so I'll say the same even about my own profile. All right. But I just did this, just tinkering around with it, like on the weekends, every night I do a little bit, and I'm competitive, and I love the numbers, so this is something I could track. All right, I was at number 20, then I was at number 15, then I was at number 10, and so you go up and up. And likely, there might be competitors of mine who are using an SEO person who's doing this. Not the SEO person's doing it full time, because they got a whole stable full of clients as well, but they're probably much more knowledgeable about it than I am, and are using different strategies that I don't even know about. And that's okay. I've decided not to invest a lot of money in that area of the business. And also, again, this is just one way to promote your business. Don't be holding your breath expecting hundreds of people to call and book appointments with you and everything else. That's unlikely to work that way. However, the more specific you can be about the problems you address and the results that you want to help generate for your clients, you're not trying to attract everybody. You're trying to attract a niche audience. Think about who your ideal client is. What kind of person are you looking for? Make that maybe a starting point as well. Yes, Rania.
I think Raphael was before me. So.
Sorry, geez, I'm doing a terrible job here.
Rania.
Go ahead, Rafa.
Question, you mentioned that you actually put your Calendly link there. So I wonder if you are not suffering from all of these, marketeers and everything that did that, and then popped up into your calendar, and then you showed up, and then.
So yes, of course, but I get that anyway. Good grief! How many virtual assistant providers can I be put in touch with? Actually, I have a client who's a virtual assistant provider, so if I needed one, I know where to go to get one. But I don't need one. So yeah, you're right, Rafi. Of course, you get all of that. That's one of the occupational hazards of putting yourself out there, right? If you put yourself out there, bad actors might find you as well. Sharon had her hand. Oh no, Rania, you had your hand up, and then Sharon has her hand up as well.
I think there is a question in the chat before I go to my question. The question asks about the
Okay.
Calendly link. Where can they put the Calendly link on your Google profile?
Right. Okay, give me 1 sec here. Okay. I'm just going to share my screen very quickly.
Yeah, sure.
Right here. All right. So I went back into, this is my managed page. You can see that because it says you manage this business profile, and you can see all the dashboard stuff is up here. And so appointments, I think it offers it as a category. And so I just added my Calendly right here. You might use something else. So you could, again, you would just copy your link and you post it down here. All right. So if I click on this, it's going to take me to my own Calendly. And there it is. So, then people can just go in there and book it. I love Calendly. There's an unpaid, non-solicited response, but I like, anyway, whatever appointment system software you're using, that's where you would then post that link right there. And then with Calendly, they have 30-minute, 60. I mean, I use 60-minute for my clients, but for prospective people, I just offer the 30-minute link just in case it turns out to be one of those marketeers of some sort. Sharon, I think you were next, maybe.
I don't know if Rania actually finished.
Oh, geez. Rania, ask a question for goodness sakes.
Well, I had a negative experience with Meta, Facebook, and Instagram when I used the sponsored ad, or I mean, paid for the ads. Once the ad campaign stops, your page tanks. As if, yeah, I mean, they will push you up during the campaign, your paid campaign. Once you stop the paying for your ads, the page tanks, and the reach is very low. So I'm not sure if Google has the same algorithm.
Okay, so let's be clear. You're not paying for your Google business profile, all right? So you're getting what you paid for, which is nothing. So I love Google. I mean, as compared to Yelp, are you kidding me? Yelp's the biggest money grab there is. It's brutal. So I don't use Yelp at all. I mean, I have a Yelp profile, but they want to charge you $3 a month just to, put something basic in there, which I don't get with Google. Google is I think very generous, honestly. Don't tell them I said that, but I think it's very generous in terms of the amount of information that you can post on your Google business profile without them really charging you anything for it. I think is really, really very cool. But they're smart because they know what they're doing. Oh, one thing I in my update, I showed that picture and I had a link in there to a video. So the video is it's a YouTube video. So it's a video when I explain in more depth about why I'm so passionate about working with small businesses. Because there's a whole thing with my father and when he passed away and blah, blah, I won't get into it now. But I just, with my phone, I just did it, here at home. So it's not very professional, but I wanted it that way. I wanted it from the heart because this is my family and my history. And then I saved it to my YouTube page profile, whatever. It's easy enough to set up a YouTube profile if you want one. And then from there, I copied it into my update. Now, the important thing there is that Google owns YouTube. So when you use YouTube videos, it's another kind of big checkbox, big gold star for you with Google. So just something else to think about there. Okay. Let's have a look here. Were there any other questions? So Danny, in terms of where you put the Calendly link, that was how you do that. Okay, good job. Thank you. What else we got?
And then Sharon has her hand up.
Oh, Sharon. Let's get to Sharon quickly. Go ahead, Sharon.
Quick question. You mentioned on your Google profile that you have a link to your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah.
You also do anything on LinkedIn to coordinate with what you do on Google, or?
Great question. One of the other important things which gets a little technical is backlinks. They call them backlinks. So where your website links back to other profiles or your Google page as well, and so on. I really don't do much of that, to be honest with you, Sharon. Obviously my Google page is up and running, but I don't really do a lot on there. So that's just me. I know a lot of other people. I'm fed up of getting solicited on LinkedIn as well, for that matter, honestly. Like I said, good grief. how many people want to sell me VA services on LinkedIn. It's unbelievable. Who knew there were that many VA businesses out there? But, you know, so there's that. These are just my personal thoughts. Believe me, I mean, you may have had better experiences, and if so, more power to you. But I, you know, I'm a small business as well. I got to mind the pennies too. All right. Anybody else? Any other questions?
Okay, there's a question here from Danny, but before if I may interrupt because of the time of everyone, please keep the questions coming, but I will stop recording and you will find the session on our YouTube channel. But please keep the questions coming. I'll just stop recording now, but thank you so much, Chad. Thank you so much for your time and the valuable information you gave us today.
Anya, you're more than welcome. Anybody have any major light bulbs go on? Any light bulb moments that happen for you? About